So every couple years, I do a video of my record collection, which is essentially just surf and hot rod music. And I figured I'd give you an update. So it's been a while. Here you go. So first up is Come Surf With Me by Key Along and the Nobles. It's on VJ Records. And in stereo, I found this one for $30 in Chicago. Surfin' Hootenanny by Al Casey and the Casey-ettes. It's pressed on this translucent bluish green vinyl from 1963. This I count as a surf record because it's got two songs that are kind of of note. One is a song called I Adore Him, which is written by Jan Berry of Jan and Dean. And the other one is called You Can't Take My Boyfriend's Woody. Beach Party in stereo. Here's the back cover. Got a nice full color back. Annette Mushel Beach Party. This is, I think, what the original cover was supposed to look like. It's printed with this as the main cover, but if you look, you can see that that actually is printed like a back cover with the slick pasted on there when this one wraps around. So I'm pretty sure that was a mistake at the plant. I'm pretty sure that's the front cover. It's also a little bit more of a interesting front cover than the other one. Continuing down the Annette Funicello collection, this is Bikini Beach. It is a gatefold. I'm not going to open it right now, but it's also on Walt Disney's label. Annette's Pajama Party. This is a soundtrack like Bikini Beach to a AIP surf-related movie. This has a song on it called Beach Ball and a couple other surfy tracks as well. Annette sings the golden surfing hits. Cool back cover. It has the Monkey's Uncle, which also has the Beach Boys on it, and it's a cool one to have as well. This is a soundtrack that I bought sealed from 1966 called Skater Dater, and it's printed on Myra Records. I've since opened it and listened to it. It's a good record. It's by Davey Allen and the Arrows. Surfing with the Astronauts in stereo. This one's on RCA Victor. Here's a Japanese version of Surfing with the Astronauts on RCA Victor. Some records I own, I have two copies, just a couple of my favorites. I don't do that for every record, but this is one of them. Competition Coupe by the Astronauts, mono version and a stereo version. Really phenomenal album. I would highly recommend checking it out. This is one of my favorite albums, Ski Surfing by the Avalanches on Warner Brothers Records. Really great album. It has the Wrecking Crew on it. Some really great ski instrumentals that are in the surf style. I don't usually collect represses unless they're on colored vinyl, and this is an album that I probably never will find an original copy of. It's the Avengers 6 Real Cool Hits, and this one is pressed on Dionysus Records, and it has a different back cover, obviously, than the original. But I know this is a sought-after record, and I'm sorry to all those who absolutely love this record. It's not my favorite, so I'm not really looking for an original of that one. This is a soundtrack from 1968 called The Golden Breed. It's actually a really good surf record. It sounds like it was recorded in around like 1963, 1964. It was only pressed in stereo. And if you're looking for kind of an obscure one that's not super hard to find, these are usually in pretty good condition because I don't think they got played a lot. Mine even has a drill hole right here, which signifies that it did not sell and was in a bargain bin for a while. All right, the Beach Boys collection. This is Surfin' Safari by the Beach Boys, Surfin' USA by the Beach Boys, Surfer Girl by the Beach Boys. This one I found on eBay. This is a UK press of Little Deuce Coupe. I found this from a seller on eBay who was selling a bunch of sealed albums that he had. They all started at $9 and skyrocketed up to hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I bid on this one at, I think, $11, and no one bid on it. One of the cleanest presses I've ever seen of this. It used to be, I guess, $2.50. It's a 1965 UK press of Little Deuce Coupe by the Beach Boys. It's one of the cleanest copies of really any record I have. Beach Boys Concert, Capitol Records, 1964. Shut Down, Volume 2 by the Beach Boys, 1964 as well. All Summer Long. Summer Days and Summer Nights. Here's a German compilation called Surf Beat Fun, and it has a cool picture on the back that you don't normally see. Here's a Canadian compilation called The Beach Boys' Biggest Hits. Kind of hard to read there. It has a bunch of their early Hype Morgan recordings. Beach Boys Stomp is on here, which is a rare instrumental, also called Karate by them. So in the record collecting community, there are certain albums that collectors look for that they consider holy grails for their personal collection. This next one is one of mine, and I just got it a couple months ago. Super excited that I finally found one. This is Surfin' Around by Billy Laser and the Woody Wagoners. It's on Scarlet Records. It's the only album that Scarlet ever pressed. This is the only copy I've ever seen with an original sticker on it that's still in the shrink wrap. Every copy I've ever seen has this blacked out. And if you look really closely, that says Billy Laser. That's actually a picture of Sam Riddle from KFWB, who wrote the liner notes. This album is full of early iterations of Jerry Cole's music. There are a couple originals, but a lot are you can find on other albums. Different recordings, obviously, but the same songs. Sounds of the Dregs by the Blasters. This is on Crown Records, budget label. This one's in stereo. You can tell that this copy needs to be upgraded. The Blue Stingray Surf and Burn is actually a modern surf album, although I know it looks old, but it's on this really pretty kind of cloudy blue vinyl. It was released in the 90s. This is a repress from 2019, I think. Surf Crazy by Bob Vaught on the Renegades. I remember buying this for $4 in 2017 at a place in Riverside, California called Groovers. And this is on GNP Crescendo Records. Surfin' Bongos by the Bongo Teens on Original Sound Records. Got a cool picture on the back. Now this one I found at a store in Redlands, California for $9. And I was like, is this the right price? So I brought it up to the counter and they rang it up and didn't say anything. So I was like, okay. But it's a very rare, hard to find record. It's by Bobby Fuller 4, and it's before they had their hit with I Fought the Law. It's on Mustang Records. It's from 1965, and it's in really, really nice condition. All right, this is Surfer's Pajama Party by the Bruce Johnston Surfing Band. It is on Delphi Records, and there's the back cover. This is a mono version of Bruce Johnston's Surfing Around the World. And then there's the stereo. These are both on Columbia Records from 1963. Here's a picture on the back. I think this one says demonstration. I think this is a radio copy. So, the Buddies and the Compacts in stereo. This is a joint record with a bunch of outtakes, I think from a bunch of Hondel's recording sessions. And it's on Mercury Records. The Hondel's don't sing on that, but I think it's from the backing tracks are from the same sessions as the Hondel's albums. And then this is the follow-up, Go Go with the Buddies, with just the Buddies on it. And it is also on Mercury Wing Records. I found this one in Houston, Texas, and I bought a mono copy back in, I think, 2016, and liked it so much that I traded the mono in and I got a stereo copy. It's Surfer's Beat by Calvin Cool and the Surf Knobs. It is one of the best instrumental surf albums that I've ever heard, and I've heard a few of them. So I would highly recommend checking this one out. This is the Catalina's Fun, and this is a stereo version. This is actually a reissue, this one, but this one's an original from 1964 on Recording Industries Records. This is the Centurions version of Surfer's Pajama Party. This record was pressed with essentially the same cover and with the same catalog number. Completely different albums though. No one really knows why. I'm not really sure that I have a guess either, but it's a completely different record. This one, I think it's superior to the Bruce Johnston one. This one's a lot harder to find. If you're looking for this, I'd probably go to Spotify. I think it's on there. All right, now we're getting into some Challengers records. This is Surf Beat by the Challengers, one of the first day presses. And the first day presses, you can tell on this album, is if there's a vocal version of Surfin' Safari, because the band heard it after it got pressed and was like, we can't release that. So they changed it to an instrumental version on all the other days of pressing the name of this album. This is Surfin' with the Challengers. This was also released as Lloyd Thaxton Goes Surfing with the Challengers. And you can tell, obviously, the title will be different. And there's a picture of Lloyd Thaxton there on the other ones. This was in stereo, and most of the stereo ones were pressed on colored vinyl. This one actually is pressed on black vinyl, and it's the only one I've ever seen that's stereo of this record that's not on a colored vinyl. Not really sure why that is. Really good, solid surf record. This is another oddity, Hot Rod City. This is by the Challengers. I group it in with them because it's them playing on it, but it's credited to the Quads, the Grand Prix, and the Customs. Possibly one of my favorite Hot Rod records. All right, this is the Challengers K39, a bit of an uninspiring. The Challengers Go Sidewalk Surfing. This one's on Triumph Records. And here is the back cover. Now this is the rarest Challengers album. It's called Surf's Up, the Challengers on TV. It's on Vault Records. There's the back cover. They were the house band for a TV show called Surf's Up on Channel 9. And this is the soundtrack of a lot of those episodes. The Challengers at the Teenage Fair. I just got this, California Kicks, and it has a couple later surf tunes on it. Wipeout by the Challengers. Now this album was released in 2016, but it was recorded in 1964 at the same time as the Hot Rod City album, this one. This one is pressed on red vinyl. It's by Sundays, and I think Sundays did a really good job of making it look like it fits in with all the other surf and hot rod records from that era. Got this for $3 in Houston, Texas. Pipeline by the Shantays. Toby Checker's Beach Party. Hits of the Street and Strip by the Competitors. I found this at a place in Seattle, which has since gone under since the pandemic. $35. One of the earlier hot rod albums. Gary Usher is singing on it with a lot of the Hondells and Four Speeds members. Really solid album. It's really hard to find, and if you can locate a copy, I would highly recommend it. This is another one of those records that I'm like, I can't believe I have. This was pressed in small quantities, probably around like 200 to 300, I'm guessing, by a group from Ohio called The Craftsmen. And they do a bunch of Beach Boys covers, like Surfin' USA, Then I Kissed Her, Louie Louie, A Fun Fun Fun, Long Tall Texan, and You're So Good to Me. It is pressed on an LP mailer, and I'm pretty sure they recorded it through their local church because there's a church logo there. It's on Zap Records, and this is honestly probably one of the nicest copies that I can imagine is out there. This isn't like creased. This is like in near mint condition, and I found it for like $50 back in 2019. All right, let's see what else we got. Now we're into the D section. Hollywood Drag by the Darts on Delphi Records. This is the first alphabetically in the Delphi Hot Rod trilogy, as I like to call it. I'll point out the other ones when we get there. Dave Myers and the Surf Tones, Hangin' 20. I remember purchasing this in California for $25, and it's on Delphi Records as well. Dave Myers came back in the later 60s and recorded this album, Greatest Racing Themes. Now his band is called the Dave Myers Effect. It's from 1968. It's Monster Surfing Time by the Deadly Ones is one of the more sought after records that I have. This is a rarer copy than most because it has the mono sticker on it. Now, album only exists in mono. They only pressed them in mono, but they accidentally pressed a whole bunch of stereo jackets. And so to save money, they just pasted a bunch of mono stickers on them. I found this on Amazon because there was a repress, and one of the copies on Amazon was rated as like VG rather than new. And I reached out to the seller and I was like, is this an old album? Like, is this a repress or is this like an original? And he was like, I don't know, but like it's not in great condition. And so I bought it for $9. And this is one of the best deals I've ever found because this record can go like $300. Maybe VG, not VG minus, probably just a solid VG. This is the second in the Hot Rod trilogy, Drag Beat by the Defenders. Now, here are two albums that were only released in Australia. This one's called Surf and Stomp. Love the artwork on this. This is probably one of the cleanest copies of this I've ever seen anywhere. And the second one is The Delis Burst Out. Doesn't look like it's a surf record, but it has a couple songs on it like Little Honda, Fun Fun Fun, and I Get Around. This one's a lot harder to find than this one, and this one's a hard one to find. This is the final, oh, I might have two of these. So this is the final in the Hot Rod trilogy. It's alphabetically, that is. It's not the final released, but this is the best one, in my opinion. Hot Rodder's Choice by the Deuce Scoops. There's a mono and stereo. This is Surfer's Choice by Dick Dale. This is an original Deltone label pressing from 1962. I found this, I think, in the same Redland store that in California that I bought that Bobby Fuller 4 album in. But I think I got it for $5. I still have the price tag in it. Let me check. Yeah, $5. King of the Surf, Dick Dale. Not his best album. I have two copies of this. It's not actually my favorite, but they're both really clean, so I have a hard time getting rid of them. Checkered Flag by Dick Dale, mono and stereo. Mr. Eliminator by Dick Dale, and this one is actually signed. It's addressed to Laura. Best wishes. Love your hair. The final surf-related Dick Dale record. This is Summer Surf, and it has the original Jerry Cole and the Spaceman 45 bonus in there as well. So, what have we got now? Surf Stompin' by Don Daly. Donald Lauren, Beach Blanket Bingo. Drag City, Halo Cobra. Not a great album. Dwayne Eddy, Water Skiing. Liverpool, Cycles and Surfing. Okay, remember how I said that if I really like an album, I'll like get like 2 copies of it? This one is an exception because I got 3. Probably the quintessential Surfin' Hot Rod album, other than like the Beach Boys. Fantastic Baggies, Tell 'Em I'm Surfin'. Did not plan on getting 3 copies of this, but I have them and I have a really hard time getting rid of them. First one is on Imperial record. Can't sell that. This one is actually a promo copy. That's the 1964 audition record, and it's hot and it sounds really nice. This one actually used to belong to a fella named Jim Pewter. You probably don't know that name, but he worked with Jan Berry in the 70s, so he has that connection. And he also wrote a couple Surfin' Hot Rod songs back in the 60s. Can't sell that, that's cool. And then this is a stereo copy, this album is really good in stereo. So I got 3 of them. Now if you thought that the Fantastic Baggies only released that one album, you would be partly right. In the US, that album did not go anywhere, but in South Africa, it actually charted. So what they ended up doing is hiring another band called The Falling Leaves, having them record under the moniker of the Fantastic Baggies. They released 2 albums. This one, called Ride the Wild Surf, this has a couple songs by the American Fantastic Baggies, and it also has a couple songs by The Falling Leaves. And then this one is the last one from 1967. And both these are extremely difficult to find. There's the back cover of that. I think maybe like 2 or 3 have ever sold on eBay. I'm never gonna find another one, and I got both of these for $50 back in, I think, 2014. Can't sell that. Frankie Avalon, Muscle Beach Party. This is on United Artists Records. From Sea to Ski by the Glaciers on Mercury Records. Really good instrumental surf album. Swim with the Go-Go's. This is on RCA Victor. I walked into a record store in Chicago and I saw this and I was like, what is that? I've never seen that before. It's on this blue vinyl, which is really, really gorgeous. Now, what this is a soundtrack of a show that Hams put on, an industrial musical, if you know what that is, from 1965, that they gave away to all of their executives. And there's not a whole lot of them, and it's very desirable. And it has this original paper here, written by William C. Figg. I signed it in the bottom. It's got a little stamp at the top, which is kind of cool. Deuces Tees Roadsters and Drums by Hal Blaine. Squiddly Diddly's Surfin' Safari on Hanna-Barbera Records. This is a really fun album. It's not on Spotify, it might be on YouTube. Check it out if you can. Here's a Private Press by Harry Deal and the Galaxies called I Feel Good All Over. That's just about the only good track on this. Go Little Honda in mono and Go Little Honda in stereo. Eventually I'd like to find this in stereo as well, but this is the Hondells' second album, and it's just called the Hondells. It's another hard to find album, Hot Doggers. This is Bruce Johnston and Terry Melcher. This one's in stereo, is on Epic Records. There's the back cover. Probably used to belong to a radio station. You know, I'm gonna throw this in just for giggles. Teenage World of Music by, it's credited to the Hollywood Sunsets Band. It's actually Adrian and the Sunsets. Motorcycles USA by the Hornets and Drag Boats USA, also by the Hornets. These are both on Liberty Records, and these are Jerry Cole projects. Here's the back of that one. Wipeout by the Impacts. All right, we made it to the J section. Woo! My Son the Surf Nut by Jack Marshall. Dragon Surfin' Volume 1 by the Jalopy 5, and this is Volume 2. Now, Volume 2, despite the cover being a little uglier, is far superior than Volume 1. It's also a lot harder to find. This is from 1966, and it's a compilation of songs from both of the previous 2 albums. All right, I keep getting farther and farther away because I gotta move farther back in this collection. This is Jan and Dean, Take Linda Surfing. It's got an original price sticker on it, and here is the back. Let's go through these Jan and Deans really fast. Surf City, mono and stereo. Drag City, Dead Man's Curve, Canadian. Ride the Wild Surf, Little Old Lady from Pasadena. Oh, stereo. Jan and Dean's Pop Symphony #1, and Popsicle. This is Hot Rod Dance Party by Jerry Cole. This is a repress. So if you're thinking about like quintessential instrumental surf albums, this is like at the top of the list. This is Jerry Cole Surf Age. This one is a monocopy and it doesn't have the 45, but this one is a stereo copy and it has the 45. Another Jerry Cole project. This is Hot Rod Alley by Jerry Cole and the Strokers. Sounds of the Big Iron. This is like a half sound effects record and half instrumental record. Not the most listenable album that I own. I found this one in Venezuela. This is Jim Messina and his Jesters, the Dragsters, on Audio Fidelity Records. There's the back cover. Another rare one, Jim Waller and the Deltas, Surfin' Wild. Sunset Surf by Jimmy Haskell. And here's it in stereo. More, also known as Soul Surfing by Kai Winding and Kenny Burrell. Black Boots and Bikes by the Kickstands. yeah, it's a good listen if you like something a little bit more heavy. So quick story, I was on Discogs back in 2018, just flipping through like what's in your want list, and this came up and it was $20 and I was like, buy. I didn't even look at the condition of it, I just bought it. And it ends up that it was, it's about VG, Hot Rod High by the Knights. One of the more popular albums to collect from the genre. It's also a Gary Usher project. This is one of the more expensive albums I own, and I got it for $20. To this day, I think it's the cheapest one that's ever sold on Discogs. So here's an original press of Custom City USA, and then here is the repress on Sundays. Another really collectible surf band is the Lively Ones, and this is their first album. It's got a great cover, it's in stereo. I found this one on Amazon in 2015 for $10, strong copy of it. Surf Drums is their second album, Surf City, The Great Surf Hits. And Surfing South of the Border is the last album that they recorded. This one's in shrink wrap, and I don't remember where I got this one. Forgot I had this. So this is from Mexico. It's a Mexican surf band called Los Mabbers, I think. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It's on Muzart Records. It's got a couple covers and a lot of instrumentals. Surfer Stomp, looks like I have 3 of these too. Marquette's Take to Wheels, mono version, the promotional copy stereo. All right, everyone, we're doing a really good job. We're all the way to the M's. We're almost there. This is the Marquette's Out of Limits. Here's Hot Rod Hootenanny on Capitol Records in stereo. Here's the back cover. Rods and Ratfinks in mono from 1964. And then here's Surfink in mono. This one's like in pretty much near mint condition with the original 45. A couple of these didn't have the 45, and I don't know why. It's a mystery. This one's in stereo, and there's the back. All right, so do you remember the Go-Go's that I talked about earlier? This is also the Go-Go's, just under a different name. The Munsters. This is a repress from 2018, and it's on this purple vinyl, which I think is really cool. This is a really good, fun, creepy album. It kind of reminds me of It's Monster Surfing Time. I really like the look of the purple one, so I'm not really on the lookout for an original. Many Moods of Murray Wilson. This is a sealed record. It's in stereo. I've never opened it. It's from 1967. It's got a drill hole. I know what it's going to sound like. I also got this one sealed. I've since opened it. It's on Providence Records, says the label. And yeah, Surfer's Holiday by the Neptunes. Not the most inspired surf album ever. It's a New York group, of all things, doing surf music. This I got really recently, Surfin' Bongos. It's a really great album, actually. It's by the New Dimensions. It's just on a budget label called Sutton Records, but it is a real group, and it's a really phenomenal grouping of instrumentals. A lot of them are originals. I usually don't collect modern surf records, and by modern I mean like 80s and above. This is one of the first of the second wave of surf albums, and the reason I have it is a group that was started by Paul Johnson, who was the guitarist for the Bel Airs, who did Mr. Moto. 1980. It sounds like it's from the 60s. It looks like it's from the 60s. The only giveaway is the drums are tuned like they're from the 70s, and the bass is just cranked up just a little bit. It's got kind of that early 80s bass sound. All right, the Pyramids in stereo, Original Penetration. This is on Best Records. Ghost Sound of the Slots by the Revels. It's on Reprise Records, and there's the back cover. Here's a stereo version of something that usually isn't on my price range. Winners of the 18-band surf battle. It has Dave Myers and the Surf Tones and the Rhythm Kings. Soul Surfing by the Rhythm Rockers on Challenge Records from 1963, and there's the back cover. The Rising Surf by Richie Allen and the Pacific Surfers. The second album, Surfer's Slide. This album I realized the other day as I was listening to this album are really, really similar in design. And if you look at the credits on the cover, they're both done by the same person, which makes a lot of sense because they're very, very similar. These two albums comprise of just about some of the best surf music instrumentally that you could possibly find. So this album is kind of the Fantastic Baggy's second album. It's credited to the Rincon Surfside Band, but it's Phil Sloan and Steve Barry. I have it in mono and in stereo. So first album I ever bought, I was 12, maybe 11, and I bought this on eBay. I paid $3.75, and it was this, Hey Little Cobra by the Ripcords. It's got my original list of albums that I was looking for and the original price that I paid for them way back in like early 2000s eBay. I keep this as kind of a reminder and a time capsule of how easy it was to buy records on eBay back then when records weren't cool, which is how I got most of these, honestly. The second Ripcords album is Three Window Coupe. It's also on Columbia Records. This one's in stereo as well. And there's the back cover. This is a Jerry Cole project called She's a Bad Motorcycle. This next album, I just gotta say, is one of the rarer records that I have. I bought it for, or I bought a copy, a mono copy, for $11 back in, I think, 2014. To this day, it's the cheapest one that's ever sold online. I ended up selling it for a little over $100 a couple months ago because I wanted to get this. What is special about this one is it's signed by the entire band. I mean, how cool is that? The band held this in their hands in 1964 when they released it. It's not, to be honest, my favorite album ever, but it is one of my favorite albums ever. Not musically, but just sentimental, and because it's signed by the band and it's really most copy and it's in stereo. Here's a piece of industrial music by Robert Hall Productions called Wild Surf. I think it's maybe like mid to late 60s. I don't think it was ever used, but still kind of cool to have that. GTO by Ronnie and the Daytonas. I remember getting this, I was like probably 16. Now, Ronnie and the Daytonas came out with a second album 2 years later called Sandy, which is a lot different than the first album. You can see that the radio DJ that used to have this crossed out all the songs except for the first one. And I gotta be honest, I think I'm kind of in agreement with his assessment. You've probably seen this cover before. It's the Endless Summer soundtrack, but the version that you probably haven't seen is this. And I got this for $4 in Riverside. Never seen it before, and I bought it. Yeah, same album, just a rarer version of it. So I don't really collect Ventures records because they're not technically surf related. They have like one or two that are. Same thing for like Sandy Nelson. I have this one. I paid $1 for it. It has a version of Wipeout on it. $1 is probably about what it's worth. Psycho Psychos. This is another Jerry Cole album. It's on Crown Records, and it's terrible. All right, now we have some good stuff. Big Surf by the Sentinels. This is on Delphi Records. The playing is not super tight on it, but that's all fixed on their second album, Surfer Girl. Now this is the same cover essentially as this, but a really great album. Now this is the new sounds of the Silly Surfers and the Weirdos. If you look on the back cover, the Weirdos version is on the back. This also has the original inner sleeve with all the lyrics to it. That's a hard to find record and kind of desirable. One of my favorite albums. For years I have this, which is the extended edition of it. The Deuce Scoops by the Shutdowns. Another Jerry Cole project. Jan and Dean play with the Soul Surfers. It's got some interesting guitar work on it that I actually kind of dig. All right, we're coming into the end here. We're almost there. Top 40 songbook. This has got some instrumental versions, like sing-along versions of Surf City on it. And that's the only Surf Connection. I do not have the first edition of this, but I do have this one. And it's Waikiki Surf Battle. It's pressed on Sounds of Hawaii Records. And it's a live concert from September 14th, 1963. Maybe someday I'll find the other one, but these can go for a lot, so we'll see what happens. This is the only Ventures record that is really related to surfing. This is Surfing with the Ventures. It's on Dalton Records, and it's in stereo. Rev Up by the Vets. I don't think this thing was ever played. It's in stereo, it's on MGM Records. Literally nothing wrong with this record. This copy is absolutely phenomenal. Surf Time by the Wave Crests. Hang 10, Surfing with the Wedges. It's really like big band, not really surf music. Sounds of the Weirdos record. This is the extended Weirdos edition with Weirdos spelled incorrectly on the label there. I like this one, it's fun. Winners, Checkered Flag. This is another Jerry Cole project. It's on Crown Records and got a kind of a cool cover. Another record that was recorded in the 60s, not released in the 60s, is this one, Lady Hazelwood's Woodchucks. I think this came out in 2018. It's actually a really great album. I wish it had been released in 1964, but I'm glad it's released now. Kind of a cool little gem to find. Dragsville by the Woofers on Windcoat Records. Friends, we've made it to the end. This is the last record, alphabetically, that we have. The Mustang by the Zip Codes. I've had a bunch of copies of over the years. Full color back. Did you enjoy that? I hope you enjoyed our journey through the best and the worst of surf music. There's still a couple things I'm looking for. There's obviously a lot of singles out there that I don't have. I used to have the Ghouls Dracula's Deuce. I sold it in 2018. Shouldn't have done that. It was a really nice copy too. There's another one called Hide and Profit presents Jim Head and the Del Rays, the Joy Boys Surf Stomping, I believe is what it's called. Hey, Loki. Obviously, there's a couple private press albums out there that are extremely rare. As you can see, that's a lot of things, and there's not really that much more I'm still looking for, just a couple compilations here and there. But anyway, if you want more information, you can check out SURFROUTE 101 at wix.com. There's a link in the description, and you can see all my thoughts on all of these albums. I update it pretty much weekly. But thank you so much for joining us, and have a great rest of your day.